Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the Controller's Office Payroll Hot Topics for February 24th. And today's agenda, we are going to talk a little bit about a new earn codes query, dual fringe enhancement, which I think you've already received a communication, but we'd like to review that again. COVID-19 W-2s, where to find the information, summer comp, and specifically tools available to project funding information, late paperwork to benefits, and then leave of absence over payments. So I'm going to pass this presentation on to the team, and Lindsay's going to get started first.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad you could be with us today. We have a new query available to you. Basically, we have a lot of earnings codes, and it's hard to know, when you're looking on HCM distribution, you know, am I picking up everything? If you want to look up furlough codes or additional pay bonuses, we have to have different types of earnings codes in order to be able to process payroll correctly. But for reporting purposes, I know many of you want to be able to know that you're picking up everything if you're trying to search by bonuses or that type of thing. So we've created a query which kind of groups all those different earnings codes into categories. And the goal is to eventually have these categories where you can just type in the category on HCM distribution. We're not there yet, but the first step towards that is at least being able to get your report that has all of the earnings codes that we have and group them by categories for you so that you know what belongs in each area. So this query is available in HCM, and the name of the query is up here. So what I was going to do is walk you through how to get to that query in HCM, and that is, so you would go to, you'd log in, you'd go to main menu, reporting tools, query manager, and then type in the name of that query. And it produces all of our active earnings codes, and then you can download that to Excel, store it however you need to, and kind of store that information. But then this way, if we ever have a new earnings code, you can easily find it on here, and you know what category it belongs in. Go back to here. This is HCM distribution. So once you have your list of earnings codes and you want to go look them up, you would type the earnings code in this search box right here, along with all your other search criteria. So in this scenario, we're going to look at operating unit CL071, department 126100 for this pay period, and we're going to look at this earnings code, and it will give us these results. So it'll tell us who all received that earnings code for that department during this time frame. So hopefully you'll find this beneficial to you. Eventually we'll be able to have the category as a search criteria, but this is one step in that direction. Does anybody have any questions on the earnings codes? All right, I'll turn that over to Wanda to talk about the dual fringe enhancement.
Actually, I do have a question.
Okay.
Is that query available at the department HR contact level? I'm not seeing it in HCM. So the role that you will need to request to see this query is called the business. Lindsay, do you remember? I think it's
It should be the business manager.
Business manager role for queries and reports. It's listed on the HCM payroll access form. So if you're not seeing it, there's a good chance that you don't have that role. So you can work with your business manager at your college and work through that form and approval. So the query is available now, Mike, correct, Lindsay?
Yes, yeah, that was the production environment that I was
Yeah.
looking at it in. Mhm.
Yes, the copy of the slides will be available on the payroll toolbox page, and we'll show you where you can find that at the end of the session. Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I want to add my welcome to Lindsay and to Joanne's. And I'm going to say you guys are brave troopers because I know you've been going through these CRP sessions for the last couple of weeks because I've been going through them also. And to have this attendance is amazing. So that means that you're really dedicated to what you're doing. And I think you deserve a slow hand clap. You know, that little emoji. And by the way, I just discovered emojis, and everybody in my family, yeah, everybody in my family is like, oh no, here she comes again with a text with an emoji on it. But I'm aging myself. I'm going to speak to you a little bit today about dual fringe enhancements. It was an enhancement that we put into effect effective January 31st, and like Joanne said, we've had communications go out about it, and so we know you guys are very familiar with it. We just want to make sure that we kind of point out certain things associated with it so you can realize the value that's out there that we got from this dual fringe enhancement. Basically, prior to January 31st, if an employee had a job, two dual jobs, dual positions, they were having fringe sometimes being charged to the dual position as opposed to their primary position. And that was causing issues within the department because, as you all know, the benefits are tied to your primary position. So we had conversations with a lot of you guys, and you kind of requested that we go in and come up with a process that would allow us to actually associate the fringe with the primary position as we had it in the legacy system prior to PeopleSoft. So we worked with the IT folk and we were able to come up with a process that was able to do that, and it went into effect January 31st. And basically what that means for us is that now your fringe will automatically go to the primary position, meaning that it doesn't go to a dual position occasionally and it has to go in and be manually reclassed. It should be an automatic process now to where it goes to the primary position for all current and future dual positions. So if you have an employee that currently has a dual position or in the future has a dual position, then you don't have to worry about it, their fringe being associated with their short fringe going to that dual position. It should go to the primary position. And like I said, this enhancement went into effect January 31st. And it affects health insurance, in fact, insurance fringes only, health, life, dental, and disability. Retirement and FICA, of course, will, as required by reg and law and IRS rules, follows the salary and the earnings where it happens. So whichever position those happens within, retirement and FICA, you have to follow those positions. But for the other insurance fringes, health, life, dental, and disability, we're able to tie those to the primary position. And it's an automated process that happens behind the scene. Should be seamless to you guys, unless you unless there's an issue or something that comes up that you need to address. We shouldn't have to worry you or cause any issues for you with you as far as this process is concerned. Does anybody have any questions about any of the communications that came through from Joanne or these points that we laid out in this slide?
I think no questions. They're just trying to help each other out with the access form, so we're good to go.
And that I love to see. It's called neighborhood. Yeah,
absolutely.
Love it. Neighborhood. All right, Jacob.
All right, hello. The next topic we have is related to just W-2s. If an employee took COVID sick leave under the Family First Coronavirus Relief Act in 2020 and it was recorded on a 2020 paycheck, they should have received two forms with their W-2. The first W-2 would have been their regular W-2 information, reporting wages, and then the second form would have been an overflow form, where the sick leave taken would be reported in a dollar amount form in box 14, and that information is just for informational purposes only. We've gotten a lot of questions about that, so far, and we just wanted to make that clear to everybody. The IRS required us to report that amount in box 14 in a separate box. So anybody who took that, it should be reported in box 14. And we have an example on the next slide of what that would look like. So this would be what the second form looks like. For this person, they took $471.25 worth of sick leave, and that's reported there in box 14. And the rest of the form is blank. So
I will say about this particular informational W-2, Jacob, were we able to mask the Social Security number on that one like we did on the main one?
I don't know. The ones that I've seen, the second form has the Social Security on it.
Correct. So I just want everyone to be aware that if you're speaking with employees at any point, that we were able to mask the Social Security number on the main W-2, but because the way that the system was configured, it would not mask or could not mask it on the second one that has this information related to the COVID-19 2020 leave. So they need to be very careful about sharing that. So as you know, we're not allowed to email or any type of Social Security information through the email system. So if you have someone request, they need to be aware that if they need a copy of this one, it will have to be mailed, because if there's an associated COVID-19 time with it, because we cannot share Social Security numbers through the system, through the email system. Sorry, Jacob.
No, thank you, Amanda. So if any, I think employees just need to know that box 14, if it's only for informational purposes, if they receive the second W-2 and they're confused by it. We also just wanted to kind of say that the forms were mailed on January 27th. So that being almost a month ago, hopefully they all have received their W-2 forms. Active employees, of course, can access it through PeopleSoft self-service. Terminated employees, of course, do not have access to employee self-service, so those should have been mailed. If the terminated employee has not received their form, they can reach out to Payroll to request a reprint. We will email it to them. If an employee, whether they're active or terminated, would like a reprint, they can email us at payroll@mailbox.sc.edu. The information that we require to send a reprinted form is their USC ID, the last 4 digits of their social, and an address to mail to.
All right. Any questions about the W-2s? All right.
Not right now.
So we're still getting a few summer comp forms. And we're getting ready to head into summer comp 2021. So the feedback that we had been getting on some of these late summer comp forms were that it's related to grant projects, and the PIs or departments don't know that they have funding available. They don't know how to access the reports to see what their grant status looks like. So I did want to remind everybody we have a couple different tools available to track project funding. HCM distribution is the payroll reporting tool. So if you want to see, or PIs have access to this as well. If they want to see, who's been paid on their grant, the type of pay that has been paid out on their grant, this is where they would go to do that. If they want to see their grant in total, the grant dashboard, which is also on the finance intranet, has the ability to show them their full grant status. It shows the PI, the contract number, the sponsor, the budget versus actual, and all that data is on there and drillable down to the transaction level. So if you've got anybody in your area that doesn't know how to access that information or doesn't know that that is available, please refer them to those tools or to Joanne or me. We are happy to walk them through that, show them that data, and we'll also be doing some more webinars on that, specifically towards PIs and the Faculty Senate IT Committee, so that everybody's just aware of the tools that we have available for project monitoring. You can go directly to the finance intranet and access those tools, or you can go to Controller's Office website. We have job aids. We have past webinars on there, but we will be doing a lunch and learn on March 24th from noon to 1, and we'll be going over these tools in particular and showing you all how to access them, how to run reports, and how to drill down into the transactions on them. The Summer Comp 2021 training will be coming soon, and HR is working on that, and they will let you know as soon as that training is available. Any questions on Summer Comp? Or on the HCM distribution or grant dashboard?
No questions about that, but we do have a question. Are 2020 W-2 forms currently available in HCM?
Yes, they are. For as long as you're an active employee, you should be able to access it.
Okay, that's it for now.
Okay, I'm going to speak to you guys a little bit about late paperwork to benefits and to the benefits department. And I apologize. I think Helen was supposed to be my co-partner here, and I'm not sure.
She's here.
Okay. Hi, Helen. So I couldn't see you on the long list, and I was trying to go through to make sure I could tag team you. But we wanted to speak to you a little bit about late paperwork because as I was discussing with someone else this morning in another meeting, all roads lead back to late paperwork. It's like follow the yellow brick road, and they all end up in the same place with late paperwork. That's kind of like similar to what Lindsay was presenting when she was just talking about the summer paperwork. That was the perspective from summer, considering that we just got a summer form in a couple of weeks ago, and we're heading to the next summer now, beginning next month. They're starting meetings on how to roll out summer 2021. So we want to talk to you a little bit about late paperwork here, and I think there's another discussion following this one on late paperwork from another perspective. But we're talking to you a little bit now about the late paperwork from benefits perspective when you have termination paperwork that you send to benefits late. There are financial consequences when you send termination paperwork to benefits late when an employee has associated health benefits. As we mentioned earlier about the presentation about the new form that will let you all make sure that all the new process that makes sure that all health benefits are tied to that primary position. Well, if you don't get the paperwork in time, it's going to stay tied to that primary position. So basically, people will refund a 31 days of retroactive premiums when the paperwork is processed. So for an example, if we get a termination today, which is February 24th, and it's retro back to 12/1, because we're already in the March billing cycle with people, because we pay people in advance. We pay people March 1st for benefits that will be in effect for the month of March. The termination date, and we get that information in and we send it to PIBA, the termination date won't be until March 1. So that employee has gotten benefits from health, dental, whatever, from 12/1 to 3/1 that they should not have. And what that does is it creates an arrears from the employee's perspective. They terminated, they had benefits for 3 months that they did not have, they should not have that 3 to 4 months, they should not have had access to because it was a terminated position. But because we received the termination paperwork and it was retro back because it was late, then that employee had access to benefits that they were not supposed to have access to. Does that make sense to everybody? And Helen, do you need to clarify some of what I said? So basically what we're asking is that as you go through and you realize that you need to terminate an employee, when you're looking at it, think about, other than just the fact that you need this employee out of this position, think about the fact that you got benefits tied to this employee because this position is their primary position. They have benefits tied to them, and you've got to make sure those benefits are terminated timely, or we as an organization continue to pay them. And if we continue to pay them, we have to have an avenue to go about and collect it back, because we're not required to provide benefits to a terminated employee unless they're a unique position called terminated with benefits. And that we will talk about in another meeting, because those themselves also have issues if the paperwork is not sent in timely.
And the only thing that I would like to add, well, two things actually, Wanda. The first thing is, although PIBA does give us an opportunity to submit an appeal on the employee's behalf, they're not very lenient when it comes to the 31 days retro terminations in particularly. So although we sent in a request to get this overturned, they will not do it. So that's one thing that is causing a lot of issues, because PIBA is not very lenient when it comes to that. The second thing that I want to discuss is that it can cause the employee some issues, because if the employee knows that they actually were termed on 12/1, they went out and they got other coverage. And if they're still showing active in our system, then that could cause them problems. Correct. Especially if they're going on another spouse's coverage that has state benefits. So that means that they basically will have to wait and pay probably more money for the coverage, because it is more money to have employee and spouse coverage versus single coverage. So those are the two things that I like to add to the conversation.
So we're just stressing the importance of timely paperwork, and that if you do run across a situation where you do have late termination paperwork, understand that it's going to be consequences also from a benefit perspective, not only from an overpayment perspective, which we've discussed in previous meetings, but from a benefit perspective, if that's their primary position and those benefits are tied to that primary position, they're going to continue to be paid until that termination is run through the system. That's why we need to make sure we do things as quickly as possible. And like Helen just stated, not to repeat what she said, but just to reiterate that people will work with us, but it's not something that they do automatically. It is a long, time-consuming process that does not always result in our favor. So then you have an employee who has arrears related to benefits that may have impacted them negatively, as Helen said, as they tried to get benefits, with the understanding that they were terminated at the time that the benefits we were giving them were being given to them, simply because of the timing of paperwork.
Yes, and so
may I add one little last
go ahead.
Point too? As I'm working with the creation of the 1095Cs, it is causing problems when we have late terms, because we have to code every month. So if we have a late term, but the coverage is termed 3/1, but the position was termed 12/1, that's going to cause us problems with the coding for January 1 to 3/1. Because technically the person is no longer here, however they have coverage. So that's conflicting information. So we have to try to figure out how to code those people. So not only is it causing problems with the premiums and their arrears, it's also causing problems when we report the information to the IRS.
Correct. And Lindsay, I think you wanted to add.
Well, I was just going to mention that, keep in mind in this scenario that, we really shouldn't be, keeping the terminated fringe on grant awards. So if the paperwork isn't turned in timely, we would have to look at alternate, options to charge those fringe to. If the employee isn't working past 12/1/2020, and they've been getting, we're still being charged fringe, that's going to end up being an A or an E fund chart. So we want to, protect your budgets and your funds, and also the integrity of the grants. So it's just super important to turn in the paperwork on time, and
And I can just, I'm sorry, and I'll just add that now that as we have payroll staff meetings and we talk about this, when you go through a process and you're improving the process, you always find out what the next step is. And in the late paperwork process, we've improved, so this is our next step. We now understand better what the impact is from late paperwork, how ultimately it's going to affect departments, how it affects employees. So now we're able to even share more with you, because now we kind of like communicated that late paperwork is an issue. Understanding better, everybody's put a lot of effort into getting better at it. So now we're at the next step, getting down to the details to say, okay, now these are the last crux. So everybody fully understands. Look at determination late paperwork. Look at all the different categories of late paperwork that creates overpayments and that kind of thing. Because now we've gotten better at it, we now can take it to the next step and work toward ultimately getting rid of it, because that's our goal. I hope that made sense to you guys. Crystal?
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to briefly discuss the leave of absence overpayment. And how everything ties together as far as paperwork. So once with overpayments related to leave of absence, they arise when we receive late paperwork weeks or months after the leave of absence has begun. If the paperwork for the leave of absence is not submitted timely, the employee could get overpaid over multiple paychecks until payroll is notified. And when the paperwork is submitted late, the employee is overpaid and required to return the funds to the university as soon as possible, as they return from leave through payroll deductions on future paychecks. If the paperwork is submitted late as well and the employee is overpaid and they terminate while on leave, we have to pursue other methods of collection to get the funds returned to the university. When the employee is overpaid, payroll has to analyze and correct the employee's earnings and determine if the overpayment involves a grant and how the accounting will be adjusted, as Lindsay mentioned, whether it'll be going to an A or E fund, and also how will their benefit deductions be corrected. So right now we are in the planning stages of creating a payroll marketplace where the employees will be able to repay the benefit arrears related to leave of absence. So we just want to strongly encourage everyone to please reach out to HR operations, benefits, and pay as soon as possible so we can work together to prevent the overpayments and adjustments that have to be done after late paperwork is received.
And so it's just every aspect of leave of absence, wherever you have to notate that, be it in the system, be it on a form, however you have to notate that, then we need to work on making sure that we do it timely, because there are consequences to that. And like I said earlier, we've gotten better. Now we've just got to get to the point to where we are good and none of these are issues. We don't have overpayments created by late paperwork, and we don't have benefits being paid by late paperwork and things of that nature. And so part of getting better for us is creating the queries and things that gives you information, like Lindsay mentioned earlier. You're making processes to where benefits are tied to the primary position, so you're able to analyze it, and if termination happens, everything flows quicker, and just that kind of thing. So we've taken those efforts, and honestly, effort on you guys' parts to get things in at a quicker rate, but we just got to continue that late paperwork effort and get the process to where it is not a topic of conversation. It's just late paperwork, we don't have much of that. That is my goal, to be able to say in a meeting, late paperwork, no, we don't really have a lot of that. So I'm hoping you guys can help us get there to make that statement. That'll be my 2021 motto. Late paperwork, we don't have a lot of that. That's my goal. Are there any questions, any concerns? I'll tell you what I tell everybody. You're in a safe place, so whatever question you ask, you're good. There's, we're gonna answer it. If we don't know, we'll research it and we'll help you find it. And we will do everything we can on our end to help you with all the things that we discussed, from query running, finding forms, to how to get paperwork processed quicker and timely.
Absolutely. We don't have any questions right now, Wanda.
Okay.
We do have Belinda on the call. I didn't know if there was anything she wanted to mention while she's got all these folks in the meeting.
Hey, y'all. I agree with everything they just said.
That's awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
Belinda.
late paperwork is a bane of everybody's existence.
Yes.
And so it has a lot of downstream effects that people may not, that is not necessarily visible. So, you know, and we all know it's been talked about for a while, but, you know, it's really more visible now in PeopleSoft to see all these different things. And so we really do need to try. And I know all of y'all try as hard as y'all can, but, you know, just need to make sure, you know, I know, you know, looking at your internal business processes of why things may be late and what can be done to improve those, you know, because we're getting things, you know, I talked to Lindsay the other day, we got summer comp in 2 weeks ago. It's, you know, we've got someone that should have been termed a couple of months ago just getting into the system now. You know, it has some serious downstream effects. So, you know, we just need to make sure we're doing things as timely as we can, you know. And I was doing separations today, and I see, you know, the letter was dated in January, but it didn't get to us until today. And it's, you know, system just came back up. It's late. And the separation is for a couple of days ago. So, you know, it is important when you get a separation or anything, you get that letter, you get it sent to us so we can make sure that this isn't something that continues.
Thank you, Belinda. All right, so I do have some comments here saying that the query is not available, so they are going to the query reviewer and they can't see it. So I'm going to look into that, everybody, and see what's going on there. And as soon as we get that fixed, I'll be sure to communicate with everybody that was invited today. Barbara has a question. Something that would be helpful is to keep the business manager who reported the overpayment issue informed of how far along the overpayments have come. I've had some situations where the paybacks were deposited into the wrong account, so would like to know how to avoid these types of errors in the future.
Well, Crystal is our the manager of the process for overpayment. So if you have any concerns about that kind of anything that you need to address related to overpayments, you could email her and then copy me, and she and I will work with getting all the information to you related to the overpayments, because she's got a very detailed spreadsheet that tracks these overpayments in great detail. So if there's additional information she needs to share with you, then we'll work with doing that. And Kim has Kim, I don't know if Kim's on or not, but Kim has a process too where she has a very detailed process for overpayments, and Adrian also. All of their detailed processes roll up to a report that Crystal does. So we have access to all that information. If we need to share it differently, let us know and we'll work on getting that shared differently with you.
Wanda,
Kim's on the call if you need her to speak up. Oh, go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
It's Jamie. Joanne,
Jamie.
thank you. It's okay.
You're welcome.
I know a lot of you already do this, but we do want to ask you if you do know about late paperwork, and it happens. I mean, we're human, so we make mistakes. Inform the employees so they're prepared for it. You have the rapport with them. You know them better than somebody receiving the paperwork. So let them know so they're prepared that there's going to be some type of impact that's coming their way. And ultimately, we just want to help, you know, all of our employees. So it helps if it comes from you, somebody that knows them.
Exactly, because we can't communicate with employees enough, because the whole, you know, if you look at it from a business perspective, they are our customer. From payroll HR perspective, they're our customer. And so we want to make sure that they feel the least amount of discontent as possible as with any customer provider relationship. So if you're aware of something that's late because it was processed late, or paperwork or an overpayment had happened, and you need to reach out to the employee prior to, we do have circumstances where that do happen. But if you, we just ask that more of you, if you could please reach out to the employee, then it makes the point that when we reach out to them, it makes it a little easier for things to be processed through, because they're aware that we're working on an issue and it's in their best interest for this issue to get resolved. Because if it's late paperwork from leave of absence, no one wants to be overpaid and have to pay us back. That's just not a fun thing for anybody. It's not fun for us for the collection, not fun for them for paying it back, and it's a whole lot of explanation that goes on with that. So as much communication with the employee as possible. Thanks, Jamie. You're right.
Okay, I think there's a little confusion. Thank you, Jamie and Wanda. There's a little confusion about the query that Lindsay presented at the beginning of this presentation. I actually popped the query description into the chat box, and I believe the one, Mike, that you have access to is not the correct one. So we're going to work with the HCM support team to make sure that we take down that old one and make sure that everyone has access to the one that was presented today. As soon as that's done, I'll make sure to communicate with everyone that it's out there and available for you guys to use. Okay, let's get to I think those are all the questions right now, but while we're talking about training and taking this to an end, more questions may come in. So where can we find training? We can, it's always in the payroll toolbox. So the last session we had was November 18th. So we'll put today's PowerPoint presentation and recording out there on the payroll toolbox. One thing that I do receive, I received some emails asking if they can be added to the distribution list for this for these payroll hot topic sessions. I actually go into HCM, and anyone who has the business manager and that business manager query reports role and the finance initiator role, I email those folks. And if you don't have that role in HCM, then you don't receive an email from me. But I also forward that communication onto Teresa Limpelair, and she always puts it in her HR Friday emails. So if you're not a business manager, but you want to attend, then you should be receiving the link to these sessions through Teresa's emails that she sends out every Friday. Also, if you're not checking that out or you miss it, you may want to get with your business manager partner and ask them if they get anything in their email regarding payroll hot topics, if they could just forward that on to you. All right. Yes, absolutely. We're going to work on that, making sure everyone has access to that query. We thought that everyone who had that role had the access, but obviously not. So we'll work to get that fixed and let you know as soon as that is done. Okay. And I think that's the end of our presentation. If you have any questions regarding overpayments, please reach out to Crystal, and her email is here. If you have questions regarding W-2s, Jake is your guy. And then for any general payroll questions, please email them to payroll@mailbox.sc.edu. Okay, I don't see any more questions here right now. So if you guys don't have anything further to ask these folks, then we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time on our payroll hot topics. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you for joining us.